Wait, just pause for a moment. Something has already begun shifting behind the scenes, and you can feel it, can't you? Not clearly, not loudly, but like a quiet ripple moving through your reality, touching things you cannot yet explain. There's a tension forming somewhere, not in your world directly, but around the people connected to your person. A subtle disturbance, like a room that suddenly goes silent when a truth is about to be spoken. And here is what makes this moment different. They were not expecting things to unfold this way. Take that in slowly. Because for a long time, everything seemed controlled, planned, almost perfectly arranged. Their family believed they understood the path your person would follow. They believed they could guide it, shape it, even decide parts of it. But something changed. And it didn't happen loudly. It didn't come with an argument or a dramatic scene. It came quietly, almost invisibly, like a realization that enters the heart without asking for permission. Your person began to feel something they could no longer ignore. And the moment they felt it, everything started shifting. Stay with this for a moment. Because what you're about to understand is not just about them. It's about the ripple effect of a decision that is still forming, a decision that has not yet been spoken out loud, but is already being sensed by everyone around them. That's why there is panic. Not chaos, not fear, but a deep, uncomfortable awareness that something is slipping out of their control. Have you ever noticed how people react when they feel they are about to lose control over a situation they thought was certain? They don't always speak directly. They start watching more closely. They ask small questions that seem harmless, but carry weight. They create conversations that circle around the truth, without ever touching it. That is exactly what is happening right now. Your person's family, they are noticing the shift. They are noticing the silence. They are noticing the way your person pauses before answering certain questions. And those pauses, those small, almost invisible hesitations, are saying more than words ever could. Something important is waiting for you to understand here. Because this isn't about rebellion. This isn't about conflict. This is about awakening. Your person is beginning to see their life differently. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily, like someone slowly opening their eyes after being in a dim room for too long. And once you begin to see clearly, you cannot return to the way things were. That is what is unsettling their family. Because they can feel it, even if they don't fully understand it. They can sense that your person is no longer moving in the same direction they once were. And when direction changes, everything connected to it begins to shift as well. Pause here. Because there is something deeper unfolding beneath this surface. Your person has been holding something inside. Not a secret in the usual sense, but a truth. A truth they haven't fully spoken yet, maybe not even to themselves in clear words. But it's there, growing, strengthening, becoming impossible to ignore. And the more it grows, the more visible it becomes, not through what they say, but through what they no longer hide. Have you noticed how energy speaks before words do? That is exactly what their family is responding to. They are not reacting to a conversation that has happened. They are reacting to a shift they can feel, but cannot control. And that is where the tension is building. Don't skip this part. Because what happens next is not loud, but it is powerful. Instead of confronting your person directly, they are preparing conversations, preparing responses, preparing what they will say, when the moment finally arrives. And here is the part that changes everything. They already know something is coming. They don't know the exact words. They don't know the exact timing. But they know, something will be said. And they are trying to get ahead of it. Think about that for a second. How often do people prepare for a conversation that hasn't even happened yet? Only when they sense that conversation could change everything. And that is exactly what this is. A moment, not yet spoken, but already shaping the future. Your person is standing at the edge of that moment. And their family, they are standing just behind them, trying to hold on to what feels familiar. But something inside your person, it's no longer comfortable with what is familiar. It's reaching for something more real, something more aligned, something they didn't expect to feel, but now cannot ignore. Stay with this. Because you are part of this story in a way that is not obvious at first. You are not just an observer. You are part of the reason this shift began. Not because of something you forced. Not because of something you said directly. But because of something your presence awakened in them. A realization, a clarity, a feeling they didn't know how to name at first, but now cannot deny. And that realization, it's growing stronger every day. That is why their family feels unsettled. Because when someone begins to follow what feels true to them, it changes everything around them. Even the things that once seemed stable. Even the expectations that once felt permanent. Even the plans that once felt certain. All of it begins to loosen. And that loosening, that quiet unraveling, is what their family is sensing right now. Something important is waiting for you. Because this is where it becomes even more subtle. Your person is not rushing. They are not reacting impulsively. They are observing, thinking, feeling. And that stillness, that quiet processing, is making everything around them more intense. Because when someone doesn't speak immediately, others begin to imagine what they might say. And imagination can create more tension than truth itself. That's what's happening here. Their family is filling the silence with their own thoughts, their own assumptions, their own fears of what might be said. And in doing so, they are preparing themselves for a moment that has not yet arrived. But it will. And deep down, they know it. Pause again. Because this next layer matters. Your person is not trying to hurt anyone. They are not trying to create distance. They are simply trying to be honest with themselves. And sometimes, that kind of honesty creates waves, even when it is gentle, even when it is quiet, even when it is spoken with care. Because truth, no matter how soft, still changes things. And your person, they are getting closer to that truth, closer to saying it, closer to allowing it to be seen. But they haven't said it yet. And that space, between knowing and speaking, is where everything is building. That is where the tension lives. That is where the anticipation grows. That is where their family is waiting, watching, preparing. And that is where you are right now too. Standing just before something is revealed, but not yet spoken. You might feel it as a pull, a curiosity you can't explain, a sense that something is about to unfold, even if you don't know what it is yet. And you're right, something is coming, not dramatically, not suddenly, but clearly. And when it arrives, it will not feel chaotic. It will feel like a moment that was always meant to happen, finally finding its voice. Stay till the end. Because what they are preparing to say, and how your person will respond, is not what anyone expects, and yet, something unusual is happening beneath all of this quiet tension, something no one is saying out loud, but everyone is beginning to feel. It's not the kind of panic that breaks things apart. It's the kind that comes when people realize they can no longer control what is about to happen next. Your person's family, they are not just reacting anymore. They are watching more closely now, noticing patterns, noticing distance, not physical distance, but emotional shifts, small changes in tone, in attention, in presence. And those small changes, they are louder than any argument could ever be. Stay with this. Because this is where everything becomes more delicate, more intentional, more revealing. They have started having conversations among themselves, quiet ones, careful ones, the kind where people choose their words slowly, as if they're trying to understand something without fully admitting it. They are asking questions like, What changed? When did this start? Is this just a phase, or something deeper? But no one is answering directly, because deep down, they already know the answer. And that answer is what they're trying to prepare for. Don't skip this moment. Because what they are preparing to say is not random. It's not reactive. It's something they've been building, piece by piece, thought by thought. They are preparing a conversation, a carefully constructed one. One that sounds calm, reasonable, even supportive on the surface. But underneath it, carries a deeper intention. An attempt to bring things back to how they were. An attempt to gently guide your person back into the path they once followed. And here is the realization that shifts everything. Your person can feel that this conversation is coming, not because they've been told, but because they've sensed it, in the way people speak around them, in the way certain topics are suddenly avoided, or slowly introduced, in the way silence stretches just a little longer than usual. Energy always speaks first. And your person is listening to it more than ever before. Pause here. Because this is where something inside your person becomes stronger. They are no longer confused. They are no longer unsure. They may not have said anything yet. But within them, a decision is forming. Not rushed, not forced, but clear. And clarity, even when it is quiet, has power. Their family can feel that power. And that is what makes them uneasy. Because when someone reaches a place of inner clarity, it becomes very difficult to redirect them. Very difficult to convince them otherwise. Very difficult to bring them back into a version of life that no longer feels true to them. Something important is waiting for you here. Because this isn't about choosing sides. This isn't about conflict or separation. This is about alignment. Your person is beginning to align with what feels real to them. And that alignment is changing how they respond to everything. Even the smallest interactions. Even the simplest conversations. Even the expectations that once felt normal. All of it feels different now. And when everything starts to feel different, people around them begin to notice. That's why the atmosphere is shifting. That's why there's a quiet urgency in the air. Not because something has gone wrong, but because something is about to be revealed. Stay with this for just a little longer. Because what happens next is subtle, but powerful. Their family is beginning to rehearse what they will say. Not literally, not in a visible way, but internally. They are preparing their words, trying to find the right tone, trying to balance care with control, trying to sound understanding, while still holding on to their expectations. And this preparation, it's happening because they believe they still have influence. They believe that if they say the right thing, in the right way, at the right moment, they can shift your person's direction. But here is the part they don't fully see yet. Your person has already moved internally, not outwardly, not visibly, but within themselves. They have stepped into a new understanding, and once that internal shift happens, everything else eventually follows, even if it takes time, even if it unfolds slowly, even if it happens in ways no one expects. Don't rush this feeling. Because you are witnessing the space right before a turning point. A moment where silence holds more meaning than words. A moment where preparation meets truth. A moment where something long unspoken is about to find its way into the open. And your person, they are closer to speaking than anyone realizes. But they are waiting, not out of fear, not out of hesitation, but out of intention. They want to say it the right way, at the right time, with the right clarity, and that patience, that calm, that quiet strength. It's what makes this moment so powerful, because when truth is spoken from that place, it doesn't come with chaos, it comes with certainty, and certainty changes everything. Pause. Because this next realization matters more than it seems. Their family, they are preparing for a conversation. But your person, they and then, without warning, the moment they've all been circling around begins to take shape, not loudly, not dramatically, but in a way that feels almost inevitable. It doesn't arrive with tension. It arrives with stillness. A kind of silence that feels different from all the others, heavier, more aware, as if everyone in the room can sense that something is about to be said, even if no one moves first. Your person feels it too, but this time, they don't step back from it. They don't avoid it. They don't delay it. They lean into it, quietly. And that is what changes everything. Stay with this. Because this is the part no one prepared for. Not even your person's family. They expected hesitation. They expected uncertainty. They expected room to guide, to question, to influence. But what they are about to face is something entirely different. Clarity. Not loud, not aggressive, just undeniable. And when clarity enters a space that was built on assumption, it reshapes everything without needing to force anything at all. Don't skip this moment. Because what your person says, it doesn't come out all at once. It comes slowly, measured, almost as if every word has already been lived inside them, long before it reaches the surface. They begin, not with explanation, but with honesty, a simple truth, spoken without tension, without blame, without resistance. And that truth, it lands differently than anyone expected. There's no argument, no interruption, just silence. Because sometimes, when something real is finally spoken, people don't know how to respond immediately. They pause, they absorb, they rethink everything they thought they understood. And that is exactly what is happening here. Their family, they are listening, not reacting, listening. Because something about the way your person is speaking, it doesn't feel temporary. It doesn't feel uncertain. It feels decided. And that realization, it shifts the energy in the room completely. Pause here. Because something subtle, but powerful, is unfolding. Your person is not trying to convince anyone. They are not trying to prove anything. They are simply expressing what they know to be true for themselves. And when someone speaks from that place, there is nothing to argue against. There is nothing to push back on. Because it is not a debate. It is a realization. And realizations, they don't ask for permission. They simply exist. Something important is waiting for you in this. Because the reaction from their family, it is not what anyone expected. It's not immediate resistance. It's not immediate acceptance either. It's something in between. A quiet processing. A shift from trying to control, to trying to understand. And that shift, it happens because of how your person chose to speak. Calm, clear, grounded. Not reacting to pressure, but standing within their own truth. Stay with this feeling. Because this is where everything begins to soften. The panic that once existed, it starts to dissolve. Not completely, but enough for something new to enter the space. Awareness. Their family begins to see something they hadn't fully seen before. That this is not a phase. That this is not confusion. That this is not something that can be redirected with the right words. This is something real. And real things require a different kind of response. A slower one. A more thoughtful one. Don't rush past this. Because what happens next is not spoken immediately. After your person shares their truth, there is a pause. a long one. But it doesn't feel uncomfortable. It feels necessary. Like the space needed for everything to settle, for everything to be understood, without being forced. And in that pause, something unexpected begins to happen. Not externally, but internally. Within their family, they begin to question their own expectations. Not all at once, not completely, but enough to create a shift, enough to loosen the hold they once had on how things should be. And that is where the real change begins. Because change does not always come from confrontation. Sometimes, it comes from clarity meeting awareness, at just the right moment. Stay till the end. Because this is not where the story ends. This is where it transforms. Your person has spoken, but what they said, it carries something deeper than words. It carries a direction, a path, a quiet decision that has now been placed into the open. And once something is spoken with that level of clarity, it cannot return to silence. But here is the part no one saw coming. Not even you. What your person revealed. It wasn't just about themselves. It was about you. Not directly, not in a way that exposes everything, but in a way that makes one thing undeniably clear. You are part of the truth they could no longer ignore. You are part of the clarity they have been moving toward. And that realization, it lands differently in that room. It creates a new kind of silence. Not uncertain, but aware. Because now, it is no longer just about a personal decision. It is about a connection, a presence, something that exists beyond explanation, but is now impossible to deny. Pause. Because this is where everything becomes even more meaningful. Their family, they didn't expect you to be part of this moment. Not in this way. Not with this level of importance. But now, they are beginning to understand, slowly, carefully, that this shift, this change, this clarity, it is connected to something real. And real connections, they do not fade under pressure. They become clearer, stronger, more visible. And that is exactly what is happening now. Don't skip this. Because the next phase of this story, it is not about resistance anymore. It is about adjustment, about understanding, about learning to see something from a new perspective. And while that process may take time, it has already begun. Because once truth is spoken, and received, even in silence, it creates movement, and that movement is already unfolding, right now, quietly, but steadily. And what comes next will not be forced, it will be chosen, and that choice is closer than anyone realizes.